Welcome to the weekly economic highlights, your source for the latest developments in Vietnam's economies, insights from the business community, and emerging trends shaping the market landscape. Now, let's take a look at this week's top highlights in economic integration.
Vietnam, Laos signed a MoU on developing industrial supply linkage chains. Vietnam, EU accelerate sustainable energy transition. Vietnam's tuna could gain market share in the Netherlands thanks to the EVFTA and green production. Vietnam and Laos signed a MoU on developing industrial supply chains. The Memorandum of Understanding between the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Vietnam and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce of Laos on developing industrial supply chains was signed on December 1 during the state visit by the high-level Vietnamese delegation to Laos. The objective is to establish a tightly connected network covering the entire process from raw material supply, manufacturing, processing, assembly, design to distribution, thereby leveraging the competitive advantages and development potential of both countries. Small and medium-sized enterprises, businesses operating in industrial parks, special economic zones, and border areas are encouraged to actively participate. Under the agreement, from now until 2030, priority linkage chains include construction materials, cement, steel, etc., chemicals, textiles garments, mechanical engineering, agroforestry, fishery processing, electronics, food processing, mining and mineral processing, and renewable energy. Vietnam will provide training and capacity building support for Lao officials and enterprises. Both sides designated VIOIT, Vietnam Institute of Strategy and Policy for Industry and Trade, and IICE, Institute of Industry, Commerce and Energy of Laos as focal points for coordination and implementation, with the possibility of establishing a joint working group to formulate annual action plans. The agreement is expected to promote bilateral trade, increase value-added production, reduce logistics cost, expand export, create more jobs, and foster socio-economic development in border areas and industrial zones. Vietnam-EU accelerate sustainable energy transition. The Ministry of Industry and Trade of Vietnam and the European Union have convened the fourth meeting of the Steering Committee of the Vietnam-EU Sustainable Energy Transition Program to review the AC, progress of budget support, and complementary assistance projects for Vietnam's sustainable energy transition. Co-chaired by Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade Nguyen Hong Long and EU Ambassador to Vietnam Julien Guerrier, the meeting focused on examining the annual work plan, assessing implementation progress, and approving additional support projects. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, SETP continues to play a critical role as Vietnam strives to fulfill its commitment to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. SETP supported initiatives such as technical assistance, energy-saving measures for enterprises, and the promotion of innovation in energy efficiency are being actively implemented. The EU emphasized that, marking the 35th anniversary of Vietnam-EU diplomatic relations, energy cooperation through SETP serves as considered a central pillar in promoting green, flexible, and sustainable development. The EU reaffirmed to continue technical and financial support to help Vietnam meet its clean energy objectives. The program is expected to accelerate Vietnam's energy transition, strengthen the role of renewable energy, enhance energy efficiency, and contribute to sustainable socio-economic development. Vietnam's tuna could gain market share in the Netherlands thanks to the EVFTA and green production. Vietnam has the potential to expand its tuna market share in the Netherlands thanks to sustainable consumption trends and tariff preferences under the EVFTA. According to VASIP, Dutch tuna import demand in the first 8 months of 2025 increased by 24% year-on-year, reflecting a clear recovery in seafood consumption in this market. The rising consumption of sustainably certified tuna, MSC, exceeding 10,900 tons in 2023-2024, indicates that European consumers increasingly prioritize sustainably harvested seafood, traceable origin, and compliance with environmental standards. In this context, Vietnam continues to maintain a stable foothold in the Dutch market, particularly in frozen tuna and tuna loins, segments in which Vietnamese enterprises have exported consistently for many years. However, despite tariff advantages provided by the EVFTA, Vietnam's tuna exports to the Netherlands have not met expectations, especially for canned tuna. The main reason is the sharp increase in logistics costs, prompting European importers to reduce the use of Dutch ports and shift to more competitive sources. If Vietnamese enterprises promptly transition to sustainable production models, adopting certifications such as MSC, improving cold chain technology, and optimizing logistics, the opportunity to recover and expand market share in the Netherlands remains substantial, especially in the frozen tuna segment. Vietnam contributes to WTO's annual trade monitoring report. The World Trade Organization, WTO, on December 3, released its annual trade monitoring report, with Vietnam among 46 members, actively providing data for the assessment of global trade development. The report notes that between mid-October 2024 and mid-October 2025, new tariffs and other import measures affected $2.64 trillion worth of global merchandise imports, equivalent to 11.1% of total imports, and more than 4 times higher than the previous period's $611 billion, marking the highest level in more than 15 years. On the export side, the measures impacted around $2.966 trillion of trade, over 3 times the $888 billion recorded a year earlier. Alongside this trend, WTO members and observers also introduced more measures for facilitating trade in goods. During the review period, 331 new measures were launched, covering an estimated $2.09 trillion in trade, about 1.5 times higher than the $1.441 trillion shown in the previous report. Vietnamese firm seals partnership to expand green transport services in Laos. Green and Smart Mobility, JSC GSM, announced on December 4 that its Laos subsidiary has signed a strategic cooperation agreement with the Vietnam Business Association in Laos, AVILA, to expand electric taxi services in Vientiane, meeting the growing demand for green transport. Under the agreement, GSM Laos will deploy transport services using a fully electric fleet tailored to the operational needs of individual enterprises. The services will include taxi operations, airport transfers, event-based transport packages, and made-to-order mobility solutions. Partner businesses will also have access to a dedicated transport management system, enabling route tracking, reporting, and cost optimization. Alongside service deployment, both sides will organize EV experience programs, knowledge-sharing workshops, and communication activities to raise awareness of the benefits of green transition in transport. Ho Chi Minh City builds fintech superhighway for International Financial Center. Ho Chi Minh City, known as Vietnam's commercial capital, is racing to establish itself as Southeast Asia's next major sci-tech and innovation hub by 2030, while building an ecosystem strong enough for its future international financial center, powered by open data, transparent digital assets, and seamless cross-border fintech flows. Already topping Vietnam's national digital transformation rankings, HCM City boasts 82% 5G coverage, runs 16 data centers, and hosts more than 2,000 tech startups, over half the country's total, creating a ready-made fintech expressway. The ecosystem is valued at $5.22 billion, placing the city 5th in Southeast Asia and closing in on the global top 100 startup rankings. For 2026 to 2030, the city has mapped out 3 strategic breakthroughs: flexible legal frameworks for new economic models, a fortified innovation ecosystem centered on core technologies, intellectual property, IP, and big data, and upgraded digital governance paired with next-generation talent development. Durian export revenue grows to fresh new highs. Durian has set a new record, raking in over $3.33 billion in export value during the first 10 months of this year, a 10.4% jump compared to the same period last year, according to customs data. This marks the fruit as the largest contributor to Vietnam's total agricultural export value. The surge came from the Chinese market, which accounts for 94.35% of the total export value in the period, equivalent to over $3.14 billion USD. Although exports in October dropped by more than 41% compared to the previous month due to the end of the season and adjustments in import control, the accumulated value to this market still increased by nearly 14% year-on-year. Specifically, durian exports in October reached over 572 million USD, 2.7 times higher than the same month last year.
These were the key highlights of the past week. Thank you for following the weekly economic highlights. We look forward to welcoming you in the next edition with the latest analysis and updates on Vietnam's markets, businesses, and economic trends. Goodbye and see you again.